Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or as we like to say here at Shady Acres Woodshop, howdy! Today we have a piece of plum. This comes to us from Nate at Mr. Nate's Woodshop. I actually turned a piece of this very same wood, it's probably been close to a year ago, and it turned out beautifully. Nate used to live in my area, about a half an hour away. Now he lives in Oregon, and he sent this up to me. This actually came from up here, Lakewood, Washington. It came down, the tree came down in a storm a few years ago, and he took this to Oregon with him, and then he sent it back to me. He says it's naturally spalted, and if you look at that grain, that's some pretty looking grain. Yeah, there's some cracks, and that big one in the middle there, you can probably see it goes all the way through. The other one that I turned did the same thing, and it actually looks pretty cool, so I'm gonna leave those intact. This has a crack here in this corner, and here in this corner, and here it comes down about an inch or so. But I'm not going to deal with those in any way at this point, at least. You can see I've drilled a hole there for my woodworm screw. We're going to get it over here to the lathe, get it mounted up, and turn something, some kind of a bowl. I'm going to leave it square. That'll give us options. We can turn it around if we want to. Stand by. The piece is 2 1/4 inches thick on this end and 1 5/8 on this end. So it's out of balance, and the bottom's not flat. So I'm going to be flattening off the bottom. I think we're probably going to use a recess rather than a tenon on this one. We'll see how it goes. And we're going to be turning at 750 RPM, 5/8 inch bowl gouge, mask, and face shield on. Well, we lost a good chunk, didn't we? That whole side there came off. That's where one of those big cracks was. So now it's really out of balance. Let me turn it down here and see what we can get. About 580. This was a much larger piece, and I had to cut it so small because of the punkiness. I mean, it was much larger, much larger. But it was punky way more than halfway through. And I'm kind of running into some punkiness here. I thought I got it all when I cut it, but apparently not. So we'll just keep going until we get rid of it. And it's still there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but my fingernail goes right into it. Well, shoot, that's all heartwood. I don't want to get rid of all of that. We've got about another inch of it. I'm going to run into my woodworm screw here pretty soon. Well, I just don't feel like I can take any more. I'm going to start working on this corner. Just about wiped out where that piece came off. There's just a little section right there. Look at that pretty bark. Purple, purple. Purple here and purple and pink in here. Yeah, we're doing okay. Okay, that's good. I'm going to go sharpen up. We'll go back to work on the bottom here. I'm not sure what we're going to do because you can see it's just punky as all get out. Maybe we'll go with a tenon instead. Well, I put some CA glue in here. This looks like a crack, but it's not. It's a line of punkiness. So I put some CA in there in hopes of strengthening it up. I also marked out for a recess. I am going to go with a recess. This is punky wood in this area, and I'm afraid if I clamp down on a tenon, I'm just going to crush it and throw the whole thing out of balance again. I'm going to use a 3/8 inch swept back bowl gouge to make that recess, and then I'm going to start working out here to put a base on and change the profile. I don't like it. Kind of looks like an old-time sailor's cap. Still turning at 1,000 RPM. I already have a dovetail here, but I'm going to use my dovetail tool anyway. Make sure it's accurate. Yeah, that's much more solid wood in there. Yippee! And we didn't run into the woodworm screw. That's a good thing. This recess is deeper than I like, and I need to put some sort of base around here. So I'm gonna, and right now it's flat, so I'm gonna take some of this depth and move it over this way, which will make this shallower and give me a base that I can work from this side, and then I can work at it from this side. 5/8 inch bowl gouge. We are done. Time for sanding. We have kind of a unique opportunity here for me to explain something. I've been asked many times why it's beneficial to sand in reverse. I always explain it, but here we can actually see it. When I'm turning and the piece is coming towards me and the chisel's cutting this way, it's pushing the fibers of the wood that way. And here you can actually see it right along the edge of this crack. You can see it here. You can see it over here. So sanding in reverse, going this way, now I'm pulling those fibers up and cutting them off with the sandpaper, with the power sanding disc. So it isn't just the cracks, it's the whole piece. All of these fibers in this whole piece are laying that way. So if I keep sanding the same way I'm turning, it's just going to leave them. It's just going to lay them down even more. We want to come this way and pick them up and cut them off. So hopefully that explains it a little bit better. And I will be sanding in reverse. With my 2-inch disc sander, I'm going to start at 80 grit because of those. It's a pretty nice finish I've got on here, but we'll start at 80 grit. Pick those up, cut them off, and we'll work up through at least 400 grit. And I'll show you that as soon as I get my mask on. Lathe is spinning in reverse at 350 RPM. Now you can see it's picking those up and cleaning them off. I'm not done yet. There's still a big one there, but I'll get it. So that's what it's going to look like. I'll bring it back when it's time to put some sanding sealer on here. Boy, that is some pretty grain. See you in a bit. You ready? Let's get a look at this. Ooh, it's gonna look nice. Yeah. I sanded up through 400. I considered going finer, but you know what? It's just so smooth. I didn't see the benefit, I guess. And you see those cracks cleaned out real nice. I feel like if you're going to have cracks, they should be clean cracks. I do want to get some finish inside those cracks, so I've got some sanding sealer in here in this little can, and then I've got this acid brush. And I'll just dab it in there. Let it run down inside. And some people might expect me to fill these cracks. Ain't gonna happen. I didn't put them there. Mother Nature did, and I think, you know, leave it as you found it as much as possible and still make it look like something. And it kind of looks like a bowl so far, the outside does. It's just still a little punky in here. And if you use a brush like that, you want to come back over it with fresh sanding sealer and wipe out those brush marks. And you need to do it quickly before they dry, because they're hard to remove afterwards. So that is the first coat. I don't know if I'll put on a second coat. I'll have to see what it looks like after I buff it. And again, I showed this before, but this is what I buff them with. It's a Scotch Brite pad, a gray one. And then I'll use a white one after the very last coat. So there we go. I'll see if it needs a second coat of that. I'll put on 2 coats of shellac, which looks exactly like this. I don't show the shellac coat because it's exactly like this. Same thing. A brush and a rag, a brush and a rag. I'll bring it back when it's time to work on the inside, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think we're going to see more of this inside there. See you in a bit. I have the piece turned around and the recess is mounted up on my chuck. I want to leave a border of bark around here, of course. That's the point in most of my turning, is to save that bark. Feels like it's pretty tight, so we shouldn't have any issues. I'm going to be turning with a 5/8 inch bowl gouge, 1200 RPM, mask and face shield on. Oh yeah, looking good. I think I'll go sharpen up. I thought I'd take a minute and measure the bottom. I didn't think I was very close, but in fact I am. It's only about a ½ an inch at this point. So I'm glad I checked that, because I got to finalize my cuts, don't I? Yeah, it's about 3/16. It's thicker on the walls, but that's because I want to leave this bark. But that's about it for the bottom. In fact, I guess we'll scrape. Plum always does this cracking. I don't think there's anything you can do about it. I have a few pieces around. I've had them for years, and I think every single one of them does it. What I was hoping is to get to the bottom of it. I haven't got to the bottom of this one yet, because it goes all the way through there. I just wanted the cracks on these on this edge, upper edge. I don't think it's a stability issue. I think it's going to stay together. Remember, I'm on a recess, so I'm spreading that wood apart, which isn't helping any. We're done. Time for sanding. I'm going to start the sanding with my Sandoflex. This is 180 grit in here. I'm going to sand all of the bark. Then I'm going to switch to my 2-inch sanding disc at 80 grit, even though it's pretty smooth. But I want to be sure I get all these raggedy pieces off of here. So I'll start at 80 grit and work up through 400. And I'll show you all that as soon as I get my mask on. And what that does is it cleans the bark up. There's all kinds of stuff laying over here. Cleans it up and it smooths it out so it feels good, but it doesn't change how it looks. And when I'm done with that, then I'll switch to the 2-inch sanding disc, lathe spinning in reverse at about 350. That's going to do a real nice, easy job. And then I'll alternate between forward and reverse. And again, I'll do that up through 400. And I'll bring you back when it's time to put some sanding sealer on there. See you in a bit. I think if I would have noticed this crack before I did, I would have put some CA in there. What CA does is stains all along the crack, so it's fine to put in before you're done turning, but if you put it in after you're done turning, then you got this nasty stain. But this sanding sealer will block it, so I think what I'll do is put some CA in there after my first coat of this. It does not appear to go all the way through the bottom, so that's a good thing. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put some CA in there. I'll take it off the chuck, or I'll take the chuck off and set it up right and put some CA in there. And then I'll buff it and put on another coat of sanding sealer. I actually like the cracks in the ends, but maybe I don't love that one going down the middle. And on the outside it was 2 coats of sanding sealer, 2 coats of shellac. So that's probably what I'll do on this one. Now I've got some sanding sealer in this little can, and I've got my little acid brush, and I'm going to brush all of the bark. And I don't want it to run over the outside edge and ruin my beautiful finish I have out there, so I have to be real careful. So I'll work at this for a while, and I'll bring you back here in just a little bit. Don't go anywhere. Well, there we have it. One plum dish in the books. Isn't that pretty? Look at that grain. And the bark. Oh my. The bark, in contrast to all the other beautifulness, pretty special. You like those cracks or you don't? I really do. I think they add quite a bit. That's just the way this wood is. You know what? I just noticed I didn't sign it, but there's the bottom. I did put CA in here, and because it stops, I guess it, obviously didn't come out the other side. And then I just wiped it up. It wipes up real easy once you've got some finish on there. It's a pretty piece. It's 5.5 by 6.5 by 2 inches tall. Thank you, Nate, from Mr. Nate's Woodshop, for sending this along for all to enjoy. If you like this video, thumbs up please. I'd sure appreciate it. If you're a subscriber, thank you very kindly. I truly appreciate that. If you're not a subscriber, you might consider becoming one. I put out regular videos about 1 a week, and I'd like to keep in touch. An easy way to subscribe is just click my picture you see there near the end of the video. Your comments are always welcome, and I read all of them. If you'd care to share this around, I'd sure appreciate it. So for now, this is Phil, Shady Acres Woodshop, signing off.